This is Karl Sanders from Nile, and you're listening to The Dan Chan Show.
Hey, Karl, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. How are you today?
I'm very good, mate. Where in the world are you at the moment? You at home?
Well, I'm at home. Yeah, sitting right here at Serpent Headed Studios, which is a fancy word for my house.
Yeah. What's it like having a studio in your house? Does it mean you never switch off?
Yeah, it does mean that. It also means that you're always interruptible.
Yeah, that's one thing, I suppose. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. When you're paying yeah, I think it is. There's pros and cons to every working situation. On the one hand, I can work as much or as little as I feel I need to.
Sure.
Right. I don't have to worry about the clock.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, well, I'm home. So if the dog, does something crazy, I have to go take care of it. Or
those
if the wife needs something.
microphones, and do you ever wake up? Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and go, I need to go down and do something? Something's going through my head. Has that ever happened?
No, because once I'm done for the day, I say, fuck this shit.
Right. Good enough. Clear enough, man. Clear enough. So let's get into it. You're here to discuss, amongst other things, your incredible 10th album, The Underworld Awaits Us All. How cool is it finally to be getting this out?
Dude, it's super gratifying because we've been waiting so long. We were done with this record in February.
Yeah.
And it had been, since 2019 since we did Bioneurotic Rights. So, man, it feels good. The people are finally getting a chance to hear it.
Yeah.
I was starting to feel like I made a record and no one's going to hear it.
I understand. So how was the album different to the others? How was the writing and recording process for this? How it different to the others?
Well, I think this one isn't so different. It's basically the same stuff. We write songs and George and I go back and forth and then we record them. This time, Brian wrote 3 songs for this record as well.
Yeah.
But it's nothing radically different. We're still doing what we do.
Yeah.
How we do it. So that part's the same.
Yeah, awesome. And with these tracks being so intense as always, how are you consistently pushing yourself as musicians?
Well, we never stop. We fucking love to play, right? So we're just doing the thing that makes us happy, right?
Sure.
I mean, I play guitar all the time. George plays every day. So it's so organically simple. We're just doing what we fucking do, and we're sharing it.
Yeah.
That's the way we look at it.
Understand. Now, vocally, obviously, there's 3 of you in the band that can take the vocal mantle, shall we say? The baton. How do you decide who's singing what? How does that happen? How does that decide? Is that decide in the writing process, or do you sit in the studio and go, I'll do that, or you do that, or I've had enough today? How does it work?
Well, we used to do it the second way. Like we just have the words, and when it came time to do the vocals, we go, okay, who wants to do what? And it was a free for all. Right?
Okay.
And kind of, there was a lot of trial and error involved. But nowadays, since we do so much pre-production before we actually record the album, it's basically like recording the album at least twice.
Right, okay.
We kind of figure out, whose voice is going to work with which part pretty early on. It's part of the pre-production process.
Yeah.
But essentially, it still is in a little way. Hey, why don't you do this part, and I'll do this thing, and hey, you do this, and no, I'm not doing that. Fuck you, you do it.
Do you ever disagree over like I want to do that, and like no, I want to do that, or flip a coin? Does that ever happen? Like a certain lyric that someone is intense wants to do?
Not so much anymore. That was like in the early days,
right.
When there was when you're young dudes, you're very assertive, trying to make your mark, right?
Sure.
So that happened back then. But nowadays, no, man, we're all adults here. So we're working together on the same team.
That's good to know. Now, 10 albums is a definite milestone. Congratulations on that. How do you feel you've evolved through them? And how do you feel you're evolving as musicians too, over the last 30 odd years?
Well, they say with, age and experience comes, wisdom, and I don't know if it's true or not. It might be true. I hope it's true. I like to think it's true.
Sure. Sure. But I mean, with the, obviously with the albums and everything, and with technology as well. Obviously, you're a studio guy. Obviously, you produce as well. So how easy is it to move along with the times with certain plugins and stuff and all the different technologies that are coming around? Is that hard to keep on top of?
It's really hard to stay on the bleeding edge. So I've kind of adopted the philosophy like, wait a minute, what actually matters here? What actually matters is that we're trying to capture the music, trying to capture the song and the performances with as much, feeling as we can manage to capture. That's what fucking matters. So looking at it from that perspective, new plugin, schmuggin, who the fuck cares? What matters is the goddamn song, the guitar. Can you hear the hands? And that's what I think we did with this record. You can really hear our hands on this.
For sure. Now, how important is the legend Mark Lewis in this process? He's good at what he does, right? I mean, how important is he to, the extra member, the whatever you say?
Well, we have a high respect for Mark. So all through the pre-production process, if we had like a question, we'd just pick up the phone and call him like, hey, dude, what do you think we should do with this part, or, recording this thing, or, what should we do with this fucking bass guitar, or whatever the fuck, right? Where do you put the drum mics? He would be there giving wisdom and guidance, and we were smart enough to listen to whatever the fuck he said. We took it as gospel, even if we didn't necessarily at the moment see, well, why would he do that? We've never done that before. We just said, okay, we'll listen to the dude and, make this easy on him.
So he's very important, should we say?
I'd say he's pretty important in the grand scheme of things. Yeah.
Understand.
But he's also, in another way, he's also invisible, because what you hear on this record is the songs that we wrote. All right? Someone asked me, Carl, is this the record that you wanted to make? Are you happy with this record? And my instinctive reaction is, well, it sounds like the songs we wrote, which is like, some sort of magical thing, because that doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you write a song and then you record it and you end up with something else. Right? But not these songs. We wrote them and now we hear them.
Now, one of the songs we're talking about has the most, I don't want to say ridiculous title. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Because like this track, I need to take a breath before I'm going to even say it. I'm sure I might have even typed this out wrong. The track is called, it's one of your leading ones, I think. It's one of your first singles, wasn't it? Chapter for not being hung upside down on a stake in the underworld and made to eat feces by the four apes. I mean, what the fuck, man? What, how, why, what?
Nice job on that, by the way. That's the best part of my day. Best part of my day when people say the song title. It's just so much fun.
That's why.
That's why, right there. Why have a fun title? Well, so that people can say it.
Where's it come from? What is it?
It's chapter 181 of the Book of the Dead. So, it's basically taking the stuff I found in that chapter and making a metal song with it. Yeah.
Wow. Now, this is an intense album. You split it with a little interlude in the middle, the fifth track on the album, I believe, to give us a little chance to catch our breaths on those titles as well. So what's the thought behind it? Is it literally like a little segue, little interlude, shall we say?
That's exactly the point. I think, it reminds me of sparring, and the only reason you ever give somebody a chance to catch their breath is to heighten the re-smashing of them yet again.
Straight back in. That's it. It works, man. It works. But obviously, like most bands these days, they've got a nice package, vinyl and everything, and extras that go with it. How important to you is vinyl these days? Is it imperative to the band and your releases? I mean, you obviously, like me, aged guy. We like the old-fashioned vinyl and the smell of the old school. How important is it to you and the band?
Well, they're fun. I like them. They're beautiful, right? Getting to see the whole, big thing is somehow, that's awesome. It feels legit.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously you have to rely on the plants being available these days, don't you? Because the lack of places.
That's why this release took so long, right? Because there's a 6-month waiting period, right? If you want to get your record press, you have to get in line.
Yeah. Crazy. I think Metallica have bought their own pressing plant now, haven't they?
Well, there you go, because they probably didn't want to have to wait.
Yeah, that's right. That's Metallica for you. Now, I love the artwork. Do you have a big say in the artwork, or do you let the artists get on with it? Who did it?
This was Michael Zay Laurent. And we just told them what the songs were about. So we showed them the lyrics and let them hear it, and then turned them loose.
Right. And the result is pretty cool. Is it straight away?
Well, we're pretty happy.
Do you get it back and go, oh, I wish you could just tweak this, or can you just put a little flair here or something, or do you just go with what he sends you?
Well, more or less we go with what he sends us, but there's some back and forth, like, hey, this is too dark, we can't see it, or hey, this fucking font is too small, or shit like that.
Little things. Right, let's go look good on a t-shirt. So Egyptology, Carl, I got interested in Egypt when I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I used to have a little hat, a little Federer hat and that for my Indiana Jones thing back in 1984, whenever it was. I was obsessed with Cairo and Egypt, went to Cairo as in all when I went. How many times have you been to Egypt, and how far, does your, interaction with Egyptology, how much do you read? How deep does it go?
Well, I went back in 2015, or was it 2016? With Nader Sadek, we did a project there, and we had a nice 2 weeks. And man, what a great host! He took us all around. We saw so much amazing shit. Yeah, it's quite inspiring.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that Cairo museum is so big. When I went there, I was running out of time, went straight to Tutankhamun, because I'm just walking past like lines and lines and lines of mummies and catacombs, whatever you call them. What do you call them? The tombs, what are they called? I forget what they're called.
You mean the sarcophagus?
Yeah. And even flying into Cairo airport, there's a museum, and you've got like mummies and stuff like that there. Have you seen everything now? Have you done it all?
I don't think you can do it all. We were at the fucking museum all fucking day, right? All fucking day, and still there was, things I wanted to see and spend more time with. So you can't see it all. We were there 2 weeks, and every day was jam-packed.
Yeah, for sure.
Full of amazing, epic, colossally epic, monumental, inspiring stuff. Man.
Are you like royalty there? Do they know who you are?
No. They see me and go, "He's an American tourist. He's got dollars." And
you're spreading the word of Egypt. I mean, you do a lot of work for their tourism, surely.
They should give me an honorary membership. They should.
Rolling out the red carpet every time you go over, Carl. Now, after all these 30 years, what is it, 1993 did you start, and released in 98 when the old Catacombs record came out? Now, are you having as much fun now as you did then, or is it the other way around? Are you, is it harder now than then because you're getting older? What's the situation?
Well, I like to play. Guitar playing is my life. So that part I fucking love. The traveling, gets tiresome. Airports have become really a drag in recent years.
Yeah.
So that part's not fun, but the rest of it is. I've met all kinds of amazing metal people from everywhere, and that's inspiring.
Sure. And did you ever think you'd still be doing this 30 years later? I mean, obviously you don't really at that age, because you don't really consider what's going on, the next day, never mind 30 years. But can you believe you're still doing this and making a thing out of it?
Well, I have to believe it, because that's my reality.
Yeah, that's right.
But I wouldn't have been able to foresee it.
That's what I mean.
Right. But back in 93 when we started, and even like up to 98 when we put out Catacombs, we were happy just to make the one record, right?
Yeah.
That was our life goal
Right.
accomplished right there.
Yeah.
So if that's all the metal gods had given us, we were okay with it,
Right.
right? Because we just wanted to do our thing and be heard.
Sure.
So I didn't plan this far out, right? You know, when your parents ask you, what are you going to do with your life? You know, I wouldn't have been able to foresee that the career would have lasted this long.
Sure, I understand. Now, obviously, back in the day, how was the divide between you guys in South Carolina and the main bulk of the US death metal scene, you know, in Tampa? You know, was it an us and them situation? Was it, or were you connected in any way?
You know, the underground community was very connected. It really didn't matter where the fuck you lived. Right. Tampa seemed to be the mecca, you know, the epicenter. But we felt very welcomed by everyone in the Tampa scene.
Sure.
Yeah.
So obviously, tour wise, you know, what's happening? You're hitting the road. I think is it 2 weeks time? You're heading to Europe?
Yeah, it's like 10 days. Today's the 21st. And so we're starting right at the beginning of September. So it's right around the fucking corner. The guys arrive for rehearsal this weekend.
Really?
It's going to be boot camp until the tour starts.
You know, I mean, how difficult is it choosing set lists these days? You know, obviously more albums, more songs, more headaches. What's it like?
You know, that's funny because I was in my car headed home from the doctor and I got a message from George going, Karl, you got to write the set list.
Right.
You got to write the set list.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that it's not necessarily any fun because no matter what you put on the set list, somebody is going to be unhappy that they didn't get to hear what they wanted to hear.
Yeah, of course.
So it's kind of agonizing.
Does that play on your mind? Does that, you know, do you do the set list thinking about the crowd, or do you do it thinking about what goes better with that last track, or, you know, what you can do technically on stage? What goes through your mind when you're sorting that out?
Well, those things, I mean, they really matter. What do the fans, you know, want to hear? Because they're basically the boss.
They're buying the tickets and the t-shirts.
They're buying the tickets. They, you know, we work for them.
I like it.
That's
nice.
not lost on us.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So after all these years, what do you prefer, studio or stage? You sat there in your studio, but do you like the heat of those lights and the sweat running down your back?
Well, that's what I've got is the heat on my face and the sweat all over me. So I guess I like it. I must like it. It seems like metal to me. If metal weren't hot and sweaty, you wouldn't be doing it right.
No, that's exactly
it would be lame. It would be some watered down version.
Sure. And I think you touched upon this a few minutes ago when you said about airports and all this shit. I mean, do you still enjoy the elements of touring? Is it still, you know, the team together, the band and the crew and everything? Do you still get that buzz?
I do love the camaraderie and the feeling of brotherhood, you know, with your tour mates. That part, you know, I think it's essential. You can't live without that part.
Sure.
Playing the music, getting to meet fans, all these things are righteous and just the best part of life whatsoever.
Sure,
you know, and that stuff far outweighs the nuisances of travel and living on a bus.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you get to see the rest of the band much when you're not on the road? Do you hang out at barbecues, or do you get to how far, you know, do you live away from each other?
Well, Zach and I live pretty close to each other. Dan is up in Northern Virginia, so for him it's a plane flight to be here. George lives all the way over in Greece. Yeah. So, you know, when we get everybody together here, I have a house full of people for a week or two. Yeah. Right. Awesome. So, you know, we do our share of grilling out. It's just easier to throw something on the barbecue and have at it.
Yeah, typical American style. We love it. So sadly, obviously, back in June, you had to miss Hellfest due to illness, and the rest of the guys managed to pull off a set without you. You know, was this the first show you missed with Nile, and did it feel weird them doing it without you?
it did feel like, wait a minute. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But there was no way I could have played the show. So the fact that George and the guys were able to step up and do what needed to be done, I think is a testament to the strength of them, their musicianship, and their character as people. Because that was their second show for Zach and Dan.
Yeah.
Their second show, right? Your first show, okay, but second show,
yeah,
having to completely reinvent the program.
Wow.
And then walk out in front of Hellfest, which, that's a pretty sizable fucking crowd. There are people that would have crumbled on facing that situation. So they manned up and did what needed to be done. So high respect to them. They proved their worth in a way that they normally wouldn't have had the chance, because usually I'm right there. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm there all through rehearsal, with cracking the whip.
Yeah.
And doing my part. So for me not to be there and them to be able to hang, that speaks highly of them.
Absolutely. Now, after 30 years in the business, how do you make social media work for you? You were out before socials were a thing. Like we remember our childhood without socials. But how keen are you to keep the socials current, and relevant? And are you hands on? Do you allow the fans to message? And what's the situation with you guys and socials?
I fucking hate social media.
Fair enough. That's a good answer.
But you can message us, right? Which has its pluses and minuses.
I'm not encouraging everyone to message you. I'm just saying, how good is it having that platform to be able to put on little quick pictures, little quick videos to say, buy your tickets, get your merch. I mean, it's a direct channel that we didn't have yesteryear.
It is a direct channel. Yeah, we didn't have that, back in the day. So that's, an element of closeness that you're able to achieve with the fans and friends of the band that, is I don't take it for granted at all. I mean, we were used to be very far removed, 20, 30 years ago.
Sure.
But now, everybody's accessible.
Yeah.
So that's an incredible thing that technology has allowed.
Yeah. Embrace it. So, what do you do outside the music, Karl? Obviously, you live and breathe the music. You're sat in your studio now. You're on the road in a few weeks. What do you do when you switch off your amps and everything and put the guitar down? What do you do? You do martial arts, don't you? That's the thing for you.
I did. I retired from that. My hands and my wrists were always giving me problems.
Right.
Because if you play guitar all day, right, and then you go hit the bag, right, you never give your wrist a chance to recover.
Yeah.
So,
so what else
these days I've been playing pickleball.
Oh, I've heard about
pickleball. I don't know if you're familiar with the sport. Yeah, it's huge in America. Pete Hamora, Nile's original drummer, and I play. We're best of friends for like 40 years. So we play every Monday. We get out there on the court and go for it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just the right amount of cardio to feel alive.
You've done something. Now you do a bit of teaching, don't you, as well? Do you do guitar teaching, Karl? Did I read that somewhere?
I do, yeah. This started during the pandemic when no one could tour, right? So I had to pay the bills.
Sure.
So I started teaching, but I really enjoyed it. Man, it was like reawakening, a part of the musical, experience. And put me in touch with a lot of young players. And it was very inspiring. Like some of the riffs on the new record are a direct result of the interactions with students.
Wow. Amazing. Is that, do you do it face to face or do you do it virtually?
Just right here, exactly in this chair.
Wow. Amazing.
With a guitar.
Amazing.
And I got different camera angles I can hit with
You got some great metalheads in the right place at the right time, and you got Karl Sanders on your doorstep giving you lessons. That's pretty cool. Now, what word of advice would you give a musician just starting out, maybe a guitarist or a band, trying to get somewhere? What would you say to help them along these days?
Wow. These days, everything that I learned 30 years ago no longer applies. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So, like when they say, what the fuck do I know? Right? Everything that I used to know that used to have value.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a different fucking ballgame.
Yeah.
But I can't say this, right? Because of the accessibility of, YouTube and social media, just do whatever it is you're going to fucking do. Do the fuck out of it and share it with people.
Yeah.
And it will find its natural audience.
Yeah. No, good advice. Good advice. Now, I've been asking any American I'm speaking to lately, especially artists that I'm interviewing. There's obviously a big event happening in the States at the beginning of November. What's the vibe at the moment in the States? The whole world is watching. Is it Love Thy Neighbor or is it a Conquer and Divide? What's happening?
I stay the fuck out of politics because, well, what the fuck do I know? It's a bunch of divisive bullshit. So I stay the fuck out of it.
Fair enough.
Right? I know a few things. I know how to play guitar. I know how to do death metal vocals. I know how to write death metal songs. So I'll stick to that.
That sounds good. That sounds very good, mate. Now, what new track from the new album should I play next and why?
Well, you should play Under the Curse of the One God because it's the new single. Yeah, just came out yesterday.
Why? Just because it's the new single, right?
Well, it's brutal as fuck,
Oh, that
right?
as well, yeah.
It's going to, destroy whatever thing you play it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, it's coming up next. Now, finally, and I always ask everyone this, what's the most used emoji in your phone, Carl?
The metal horns.
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like it. Good stuff. Well, Carl, listen, thanks so much for the chat and joining me on the show. Good luck with the album. I'll be seeing you in a few weeks in Barcelona.
Looking forward to it.